We're going to go ahead and start the program, and please continue eating and enjoying the food while I'm speaking, because the real speakers are going to come in just a few minutes. So the first part of this, if you miss something, it's probably okay. First question I have to ask is, how's that tweeting going? I had my daughter program my smartphone so it'd get that little chirping sound when you get an email or text, just so that I could participate in this thing. Now, all of you have been to events like this, and you know it takes a lot of work and support to pull it off, and I'll make this as short as possible, but we've got some people to recognize and thank, because without them, these events wouldn't happen. I'm going to start off by thanking our luncheon sponsor, the Oklahoma Business Roundtable, and we really appreciate Carl Edwards and John Reed and the members of the Business Roundtable for their continued support. John, thank you very much. Next, our event sponsors, and I'm just going to read them off and we'll applaud at the end. The Oklahoma Department of Commerce, Boeing, Integris Health, State Department of Career Tech, Greater Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce, Metro Technology Center, Journal Record, MTM Recognition, I2E, and the Bama Companies. Thank you very much. I'd also like to acknowledge some special guests in the audience today. First of all, Lieutenant Governor Todd Lamb, thank you. And then we have several officials, other officials, the Secretary of Commerce, Larry Parman, sitting at this table. And you've already been introduced to the Oklahoma Corporation Commissioner, Ms. Patrice Douglas. And last but not least, the Oklahoma City Public Schools Superintendent and the former Secretary of Commerce, Mr. Dave Lopez. The Oklahoma Award Program is patterned after the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award, and I'd like to recognize 3 Oklahoma organizations who have received that award. The Bama Companies in 2004, Jenks Public Schools in 2005, and Mesa in 2006 and 2012. In addition, we have representatives from 4 other Baldrige recipients who are speaking here today: Iredell Statesville School District, K&N Management, Friesen Nichols, and the City of Irving, Texas. So let's welcome them to the state of Oklahoma. This time I'd like to acknowledge the Oklahoma Quality Foundation Board of Examiners, panel of judges, and our training team. These are the people that are the foundation of our quality program and our awards program, and without them, this wouldn't happen. By the way, these are all volunteers. So would our examiners, judges, and trainers please stand for a round of applause? We do have a recognition for each of our examiners and judges, so after the luncheon, if you'd come over to this table and pick it up, we've got a little something for you. Now I'd like to recognize the incoming board chairman of the Oklahoma Quality Foundation, Dave Smith, Jr. with MTM recognition. Would you please stand? MTM Recognition is a longtime supporter of the foundation and was a 2010 Oklahoma Quality Award for Commitment recipient. And we're really pleased that Dave has accepted the chairman position, and looking forward to really good things under his leadership. I'd like to add that MTM has been a sponsor and supporter for a long time. They do all the awards for and have for many, many years for our awards program. Dave, thank you very much. I'd also like to thank our members for their continued support of the foundation. And these are the ones that provide the dollars to help the Oklahoma Quality Foundation present and develop the outreach programs. And our members include the Oklahoma Business Roundtable, Mesa, St. Anthony Hospital, Metro Technology Centers, MTM Recognition, Francis Tuttle Technology Center, Oklahoma Department of Commerce, Oklahoma Foundation for Medical Quality, Tri-County Technology Center, Video Gaming Technologies, I2E, and Quiet Excellence. Thank you for your financial support. And finally, I'd like to personally thank the person who made this event possible, our Executive Director, Heather Griswold. Heather? Thank you. Supported by Johnny Lacey, our Heather's assistant. And I don't know how many of you know Heather, but for the last 2 years, I've been following her around, being pulled around, and she just wears me out being around her. Thank you for everything. It's now my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Terry Holliday, Kentucky's Commissioner of Education. Dr. Holliday became commissioner in 2009. Prior to that, he served as superintendent of the more than 20,000 student Iredell-Statesville School District from 2002 until 2009. Under his leadership, the district received the 2008 Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award. In 2010, he was named to the Board of Directors for the Council of Chief State School Officers and is currently the president-elect. In 2011, he was appointed to serve a 4-year term on the National Assessment Governing Board. Dr. Holliday is a really smart guy, earning degrees from Furman University, Winthrop University, and a doctorate from the University of South Carolina. He's here today to talk to us about the 3 E's: education, employment, and the economy, which is a pretty hot topic in Oklahoma today. We all know that an educated workforce has higher rates of employment, and higher rates of employment have a positive impact on a state's economy. So you'll hear some fascinating information from him today as he shares some up-to-date research on the relationships of the 3 E's and best practices from across the world on how Oklahoma and other states could impact the 3 E's. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Terry Holliday.
I want to thank Terry, and I especially want to thank Heather. She's just been a delight to work with. I go all over the country. I think I've spoken at about 25 or 30 state conferences now, and you're running one of the best, Heather. Thanks for your work. I apologize for my voice. There's a little story to this, and I went about 9 months losing my voice. Of course, the House and Senate Education Committees really liked that. I wouldn't have much to say, but we got to a doctor in Nashville, Tennessee, that diagnosed me with something called spasmodic dysphonia. Some people you might know that have it are Diane Rehm on NPR and Robert Kennedy Jr., and there are about 50,000 people across our nation that suffer from this. Now, some of you are going to love the treatment. I go once every 3 months, and I get a needle, and I get injected in the vocal folds with Botox. I got the youngest looking vocal folds in the world. It takes a few weeks for me to get my voice back, so I'm kind of right in the middle. Every time I call my scheduler, she thinks it's an obscene phone call. But my wife thinks it's sexy, so I'm doing pretty good. All right, I'm all right there. I can't tell you, I've got a lot of things going on now, getting ready for our General Assembly starts in January, but when Heather called, I feel such a kinship with Oklahoma because for many years, as I was a local school superintendent, working on the Baldrige criteria and implementation, I kept looking for a great model to follow, and I found one in Kirby Lehman in the Jenks Public School District in the 2000s, and I would be remiss if I just didn't thanks. Where are my Jenks people? Thank you guys again for all your great work. But let's give them a hand. we copied everything we could copy from Good Work, and we studied Mesa too, Terry. So trust me, we studied all the Baldrige recipients. The other thing is, I used in my teaching career, I was a high school band director. I hope that didn't undermine my credibility. But about 25 years ago, if my memory serves me correct, I flew into Oklahoma somewhere. It was late at night, and I went to a place called Broken Arrow. You got a Broken Arrow person here? Well, I looked them up the other day, and their high school band is still doing great. So, top-notch high school band there, and there were some fond memories of working with those folks. But I'm going to tell you the real reason I'm here. I am a spy from Kentucky. The governor gave me career and technical education 2 years ago. He said, we got to up our game a little bit, and you seem to be doing a little bit with this Baldrige stuff. So we want the director's retiring, and it's probably a good time to make a little change. So I looked all over the country. I said, where could I go to find out about career and technical education? And one state kept coming back, go to Oklahoma. So that's why I'm here today, okay? Because I'm trying to make connections so I can steal all the good work you guys are doing. All right, I need you to play along with me for just a moment. Every Friday, I do a newsletter internally to all my staff, and I always put a little video in there to kind of highlight one person or a department or something like this. Today I want to do it just to prove I'm here, okay? Because they think I'm out on some junket somewhere, and I like to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it, and then at one point in time I'm going to say, tell all of my folks in Kentucky, hello from Oklahoma, okay, and ask you guys to say hi. So, all right, here we go. Hi, guys. Happy Friday. I'm here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Got some big wigs here today. Got the Lieutenant Governor. Got the, I even got a new Secretary of Commerce and somebody that's a Commissioner of Corporations or something. Not sure what that is. But boy, these people in Oklahoma, they sure are. They're here to hear about your great work in Kentucky, and I'm so proud to work with you guys in Kentucky. And I just wanted these folks to give you a shout out. So all you guys say, hi, Kentucky. Hi, Kentucky. All right, thank you. Okay. Everybody knows about 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic. Everybody knows about 3 C's. Communication, collaboration, creativity. But what's really important is the 3 E's. I've been using the 3 E's. I kind of stumbled on it a couple of years ago with the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, and the president of the Chamber of Commerce said, hey, that's a pretty good thing. And it really brought the Chamber of Commerce in. They're our best partner in Kentucky. The president of the chamber and I have been all over Kentucky the last 4 or 5 years, really talking about connecting education to employment to the economy. The 3 E's. Going to be a test at the end, so you guys get ready. If you hadn't read this book, you ought to read this book. Been out a couple of years. Jim Clifton of Gallup fame has written this book about the coming jobs war. We're probably not going to have major military conflict like we did with World War I and World War II, but we're going to definitely have a global jobs war. Why? Because countries that fail at creating jobs, their societies are going to fall apart. Anybody looked at Libya lately? Countries that fail at job creation, their societies will fall apart. He gives these striking numbers. And y'all got this on your thumb drive. Boy, that's a great thing. You know, Heather gives you this thumb drive. And in a short time I have with you, I'm not going to go over all my notes, but it'd be a great idea if you want to follow up on anything or get any of these resources, just check your thumb drive. 7 billion people, and probably a few more today on Earth. 5 billion people 15 years and older. 3 billion people are looking for work. You don't believe it? I've been to India lately. I've been to China. I've been to Brazil. People are looking for work, and they're looking for work that'll give them at least a livable wage in their country. The problem is, right now, currently only 1.2 billion full-time jobs that might pay a living wage exist in the world. You do the math, there's a big gap. Everybody don't want what America has, they want the jobs that America has. So the coming job wars is going to be very true. But we shouldn't think of this as a glass half full. We ought to think of it as a glass half, almost full with opportunity. The opportunity is unbelievable. As I've visited China, Beijing, Shanghai, places in China, what I saw is a growing middle class. As I went to Brazil and India, a growing middle class. They're wanting Twitter, they're wanting Facebook, they're wanting Calvin Klein jeans, they're wanting iPhones, they're wanting iPads, they're wanting a lot of things that we're making. I was at a lunch table the other day, similar to this, and I was sitting next to Jim O'Brien, who's the chairman, CEO, president of Ashland Incorporated. Ashland Oil used to be all Kentucky. Everywhere you went, Ashland Oil. He said back in the 80s, 90% of the business of Ashland Oil was in Kentucky. Today, Ashland Inc., only 5% of their business is in Kentucky, and over 50% of their business is global. If you look at currently the economy, we got a lot of people looking for work, we got a lot of people out of work, but business is doing great. Why? Because of this globalization. And if you think about it, we got the potential for $140 trillion of new customers, employers, business, and equity coming in the next 20 years. Now, we can either seize these opportunities and we can open up our floodgates. Recently, I got some pushback from my General Assembly because I said on our accountability system, we can't just look at test scores. We need to look at other programs, and one of the critical programs we need to look at is world languages and world culture. Because when the governor goes on his recruitment trips and he starts cutting ribbons, he's cutting ribbons for a large Japanese firm bringing in 300 jobs. He's cutting ribbons for a Korean plant. He's cutting ribbons for a German plant. If we don't understand other cultures and able to speak other languages, our education system will have failed in getting kids ready for the employment opportunities that will be out there. I'm going to give you another research. All of my talk is based on real data, real research, real people. McKinsey, everybody knows McKinsey, global consulting company. A report that came out not too long ago, Education, Employment, Designing a System That Works. This is a great resource for you. I won't have time to go into every single thing, but I'd certainly encourage you to get it, especially those of you that might work in higher education and have to work with employers, and those of you in career tech areas. Please read this quote. I love the speeches this morning. Stan talked about, he was on the couch and his friend came in with an idea for our business and he jumped right to it. But there are a lot of kids on couches out there today that aren't jumping to anything. They're either unemployed or underemployed, and there's no future for them. I wonder how many of you, has anybody ever seen the show Underemployed? I keep asking that, and I ain't found anybody seen it. But let me ask you this. Has anybody seen the show Turtle Man? Oh, come on, you can raise your hand. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Yeah. I bet a bunch of you have seen Duck Dynasty, and you don't want to tell that either. Turtle Man is a guy in rural Kentucky who's on I think the History Channel or Discovery, and every week he goes to a different place and with his bare hands catches critters. So, what's that say about our society that everybody probably knows Honey Boo Boo? Everybody probably knows Duck Dynasty. And everywhere I go, people ask me, is the Turtle Man real? And yes, he is. He lives just right down the road in Marion County. But I don't ever find anybody seen this show. But we sure got shows about survivors. But I don't know if we got shows about young people that are surviving and becoming gainfully employed. There are two big crises that kind of interplay with each other. One is this high levels of youth unemployment, but the big one is the shortage of people with critical skills. Currently, there are over 3.5 million jobs in America that are going unfilled because of lack of kids with the ability and the skills needed for the job market. I can't tell you how many times I hear this particular story. I'm at a chamber luncheon or some event like this, and I start talking about this, and I start talking about the need for higher education and 2-year, 4-year to technical degrees. And a businessman will stand up during Q&A and will say, I stopped and got gas this morning at my local Quick Mart. Went in to get a cup of coffee, and behind the counter was my neighbor's adult child who recently graduated with a history degree from University of Kentucky. He's there working for minimum wage because he can't find work that requires a history degree. But I've got 6 openings for tool and die that start between $50,000 and $60,000, and I can't find anybody to fill the jobs. Do you ever hear stories like that? How many of you know a young adult that recently graduated from college that's back home in the basement with mom and dad? I see a few heads nodding. And they can't find work in the area that they graduated with. But yet there are 3.5 million jobs out there available. So what I want to focus in on for a little while, what this report talked about, was kind of shortage of skills. I'm extremely worried, and a lot of policy people, legislators are extremely worried that the American dream does not exist anymore. You know, a lot of you are approaching my age, you know. How many times did your mother and father look at you and say, you're going to go to college, you're going to graduate because your life is going to be better than our life? But today, we've been telling our kids that, but our kids are 3 times more likely than our parents to be out of work. Look at international figures in Greece, Spain, South Africa, Libya, even worse. 50% of youth unemployed. 75 million youth unemployed globally. 225 million youth under or unemployed across this world. You talk about the conditions for social unrest, there it is. So, here's where I started to step on a few toes. and I apologize in advance. It's against my southern nature to step on your toes, but I will say, bless your heart. A lot of polling done by McKinsey. They found kind of a interesting gap. Only 43% of employers agreed they could find enough skilled entry-level workers. And when we go to Eastern Kentucky, they usually add one more thing, that can pass the drug test. I know you guys don't have those kind of problems in Oklahoma. This skills shortage is becoming critical, and I think it's the theme to connect education to employment and how that drives the economy. We need to focus on skill development. This report had 6 key highlights. I'm not going to dig into each one, but I would offer it up to you so you could read and find out a little bit more about this. Here's the first big toe stepper. 50% of employers and youth who have graduated from these education institutions believe that new graduates are adequately prepared. But if you ask the education providers, they will tell you that 87% of the youth are well prepared for jobs. Every survey you look at is going to reinforce what I'm telling you here. There's a big gap there's a parallel universe, what education providers say these kids have upon leaving and what the kids and the employers say they have. Why do we have a parallel universe? We don't talk to each other. We talk at each other. Collaboration is critical between employers, and that's why we're looking at you guys. I'm probably preaching to the choir here because our career technical programs, we have got to do a lot better job of our career technical programs talking to employers and connecting to our 2-year, 1-year technical programs. We got to have a lot more clinical hours, on the job training, all these things for our kids. So it's what employers say when they go and try to talk and try to work, they're not getting a very receptive audience. Highlight number 2. Our kids crash at so many intersections on the education to employment highway. They crash when they get ready to enroll in post-secondary. They crash because they build the wrong skill set. And then they really crash when they try to find a job where no jobs exist. Let me go a little deeper. So many of our kids enter post-secondary in jobs, looking for jobs that don't exist. My daughter is 23. She's a grad student at the University of Kentucky in the Patterson School for International Studies. She's done all of her job market research. She knows where the jobs are going to be. She's already applying for them. She won't need to get employed till next summer. But she dates a young man who graduated last year as an English major. And now he has a part-time job at a local luggage store selling luggage with not much hope for the future. But she loves him. So I got to live with that. But I see this confronting me every day, you know. But I see you, well, you got some of that too back there, okay. You know, and he and I talk about it a good bit. He just, you know, it's wonderful to pursue your passion, but you ought to kind of temper that passion with some common sense. Like if you enter a field of study, 2-year, 4-year degree, you might want to know what the job market looks like at the end of that. You might want to know. So that's what's not happening. Our kids are building skills. Higher education's doing a better job than they've ever done. But they're building skills maybe in the wrong stuff. I used to have a friend 20 years ago, some of y'all appreciate this joke. His name was Dudley Flood. He'd go around all over the nation and talking, and he said, how many of y'all out there own a B-52 bomber? Nobody raised their hand. He said, how many of you out there own a VCR? This was back when some of you young people don't even know what VCR. Everybody raised their hand. He said, here's what the problem in this nation is. We're making the wrong damn stuff. Because we make the B-52s, but there wasn't one piece of the VCRs being made in the U.S. anymore. It was all being made in Japan at the time. That's a little bit of the problem we've got in this country now, is maybe we're making the wrong stuff. Maybe we're getting our skills ready to build the wrong stuff. So, highlight number 3. Employers will just keep telling you, and I bet in this building, healthcare, business, manufacturing, sales, they'll all tell you the same story. It's tough to find future employees with the right skills, and when you get them, it's tough to get them to show up for work and be punctual. I mean, it hits home. It hits home. I'm not sure any state math test will adequately prepare kids for the jobs of the future. So it might be that sometimes maybe we're testing the wrong stuff too. That we might need to balance our assessment and accountability systems to make sure kids are ready for the future. I'm the incoming president of the Council of Chief State School Officers, and that's one of our big projects next year, is to really start connecting what should we be looking for the kids to graduate with. And I'm going to tell you about our work in Kentucky in just a moment. Innovative and effective programs have some important common denominators. So I told you the problems. Here's how you can go about fixing it. You got to talk to each other, and you got to build programs that get kids experiences in the real world. You can't just do it all by theory and in books. You got to experience the real world. We got to look for more ways to get classroom to workplace. Project Lead the Way. A lot of you guys, I know Oklahoma has a great Project Lead the Way. Kentucky, we're really dedicated to Project Lead the Way. One of our big partners, Toyota. Toyota Advanced Manufacturing Program. It's been in Kentucky, Georgetown, Kentucky for quite a few years. It starts in middle school, getting kids through Project Lead the Way, starting to understand manufacturing concepts. Kids then go through Project Lead the Way at the high school and start getting workplace experiences. These kids are recruited to the Toyota campus in collaboration with the community college to go through the advanced manufacturing program. Long waiting list to get in. When they get there, they are on the floor of the manufacturing plant 3 days a week and in classroom 2 days a week. It is such a model program that people all over the nation have come to it to try to replicate it. How did it start? By the employer and the education providers coming together and agreeing upon standards. Ford came into Louisville, Kentucky recently and added second shift and third shift because, F-150 trucks are really booming right now. They couldn't find enough of employees that had the skill set they needed. So what are they doing? They're starting about building an advanced manufacturing seamless middle school through 2-year technical degree. UPS College, perfect example of what I'm talking about. North Carolina, Apprenticeship 2000, perfect example. German company comes in, can't find the skills they need. They recruit the kids through STEM classes, and then they pay for their university 2-year, 4-year degrees in exchange for the kids staying with them. Now, Heather, you give me a 5-minute warning, okay? 5 minutes now? Okay. Highlight 5, creating a successful education and employment system requires new incentives, new structures. Call of Duty, any of y'all heard that software? Kids will spend hundreds of hours on that software. Great training. I think the Army uses it to start recruiting kids. So look at MOOCs, look at software, look at these things. Highlight 6, our solutions need to scale up. You got to use technology. You really got to look at ways to utilize technology, and you got to look at ways of doing dual enrollment with your high schools and your community colleges, technical colleges. Look at this report. Higher education pays out of Texas. Student loan debt over $1 trillion. Kids are in trouble. It's the next big balloon. Why? What I've already said. Too few kids know what the job market is for their area of interest. Lessons learned. 4-year degrees may not be the way. There are a lot of 1-year, 2-year degrees that pay more than 4-year degrees. The S, the biology, chemistry may be getting a little oversold in STEM. Heavy emphasis on computer programmers now with the technology engineering. Here's a quick state response. The key in Kentucky so far is we're focusing on a balanced system of college and career ready, because the jobs of the future are going to require kids to be college and career ready. We estimate nationwide this shortfall of 3 million jobs. In Kentucky, we got to get about 5,200 more kids a year with technical degrees to fill jobs of the future, or the governor won't be able to recruit business anymore. We're about tapped out with the skills level, and we're going to have to either import people in or they're going to go somewhere else. Bottom line is about a third of our kids don't finish high school, and up to half who do graduate are not college and career ready. We had major legislation in 2009 that set us on the course with new academic standards. That's when Common Core was a good term. You know, it was a positive term. We were the first to adopt it, and we got it implemented for little money, and now we've been assessing on it for 2 years. The key on this is our strategic plan called Unbridled Learning, and I'm going to give you one thing we did. We went out to every superintendent, every school board, every college president, every 2-year, 4-year, every technical degree place, every public-private, and we all signed a commitment that this was going to be our focus. 100% commitment from everybody, and it meant they had to do some stuff. We defined what college ready is. We defined what career ready is. We set goals. Y'all notice I moved into Baldrige, didn't you? Okay. Leadership, vision, strategic plan, goals. You got the Baldrige connection, right? 2 big ones. Here's our real focus. We want to improve our college career readiness. When we first did the measure in 2010, only 1/3 of our graduates were ready for college. Out of 45,000, only 15,000 were ready for college and career. What a huge waste of money with remediation and kids failing to go forward. Graduation rate was pretty good, 76%, but we had to get a lot better. Here's what happened. 3 short years, we went from 34% to 54%. That means 9,000 additional kids walked across the stage in Kentucky last year, ready for the next step, no remediation, ready to enter, ready to go in a technical career, 1-year degree or 2-year degree. So next year we'll add even more. Pretty soon we'll get up to what the market is driving, which is 67%. We need 67% of our high school grads ready for the next step. The other thing we got was our graduation rate went from 70-something to this past year it was 86%. If you'll look at the slide when you get home, I'll talk about some of the specific strategies we did, but I want to give a shout out to my Lieutenant Governor, since the Lieutenant Governor's here today. Our Lieutenant Governor came in and he said, and you have to know him, he is energetic. He's a great guy. He said, I want to do something about education. I want to help. So we'd had this thing called Operation Preparation, where every year business people go into our schools and meet with every 8th grader, and they meet with every 10th grader, and they say, are you on track? Where are you headed? Are you taking the right courses? Are you showing up for school? Are you attending? He said, I want to cap it off. I want to start something called Close the Deal. We'll go to every high school, bring in all of the college people for recruitment, bring in all of the financial aid people. We'll bring all these people to the high schools, and we will make the seniors sit down right then and there and fill out or get started on their FAFSA, their college application, and then we'll connect the Masons with them after we leave to keep hounding them to get all their stuff done. So he calls it Close the Deal. We're up to about 50 or 60 high schools now, headed toward, a full 220. And the Career Pathways Bill gives me permission to come to Oklahoma and spy, to make sure I get this thing right for the future. I want to thank you for listening to an old Kentucky boy today. Sorry about Baylor. I can't do anything about that, But we are excited about basketball season in the Bluegrass State. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Holliday. I think we all got our eyes opened a little bit of some of the challenges facing Oklahoma, and we really appreciate your insights. We do have something for you here, and this is a statue of Will Rogers, and
I was looking at that, wanting that. I can't believe I actually got one.
well, this is now yours, and I don't know how you are on an airplane. I personally like to sit and kind of introvert myself. I'm not a people person. I don't know how you are. You're probably a little bit more of a people person, but I guarantee if you just have that on your lap, you will have a conversation with somebody about that. So
I'm sure I will. Thank you so much.